I didn't expect to feel much when I decided to sell the truck. It was just a machine. Rusting, stubborn, smelled like coffee and dog hair. But Mia used to sit in the passenger seat with her bare feet on the dash, humming out of tune to whatever was on the radio. That kind of thing gets into a place deeper than metal or leather. Still, it had to go. She'd been gone 11 months, and the house was already filled with too many ghosts. This was me trying to move forward, right? Or at least pretending to. I pulled it out from the back garage, gave it a rinse, and spent the better part of the afternoon wiping down the interior. The cab had always been tight. Just 2 bucket seats and a dash cluttered with a decade's worth of receipts and chapstick tubes. I reached under the passenger seat to vacuum, and that's when I noticed it. The seat was reclined. Not all the way, but just enough to catch my eye. Enough to say someone had been sitting there. Recently. Stopped me cold. I sat back on my heels, staring at it like it might adjust itself again. No one had been in that truck since before her funeral. I mean that literally. After the service, I parked it in the garage and drove my sister's car everywhere. I couldn't bring myself to touch it. Maybe I thought her smell would fade slower that way. I kept the battery charged and turned it over every couple weeks, but I never once opened the passenger door. So how the hell was the seat reclined? I pushed it upright, hand trembling a little, and opened the glove box without thinking. A few faded napkins, an old insurance card, a half-melted pen. Then I saw it. A plain white envelope, marked in her handwriting, God. Her handwriting, confess. Just that. One word, looped in blue ink like it was a shopping list reminder. Next to it, folded neatly, was a receipt. I opened it slowly, the way you do when you're afraid of whatever's on the other side. Blue Heron Inn. Romance package for 2. Room 14. Paid in cash. And the date? 2 days after her funeral. I just stared. My brain couldn't make sense of what I was holding. There had to be a mistake. The ink was too fresh. The receipt had no dust on it, nowhere. It was like it had been placed there on purpose, waiting for me. I sank into the driver's seat, clutching the paper, trying to breathe through the wave of nausea rising in my chest. I wanted to believe it was old, that maybe she'd hidden it there and forgotten. Maybe it was from a getaway we took years ago, some weird coincidence. But I couldn't lie to myself. I'd never been to the Blue Heron. That's when I remembered the dash cam. I'd installed it myself the year before, after a kid sideswiped me and claimed it was my fault. I hadn't thought about it since. But when I glanced up at the mount, still fixed to the windshield, I saw the tiny red light blinking. It had power. I turned the key in the ignition and waited as the monitor booted up. My hands were slick with sweat now, heart pounding in my ears. The files were still there. Weeks of footage, overwriting every few days. Except one folder had been locked, dated 2 days after the cremation, the same day as the receipt. I hesitated, thumb hovering over the play icon. Part of me didn't want to know. Part of me already did. The video started. The dash cam showed my truck, pulling into a gravel lot surrounded by pine trees. It was early evening. Faint sunlight reflected off the sign, Blue Heron Inn. The footage was stable, slightly grainy. The driver's side door opened first, and Mia got out. She looked alive. Not ghostly or frail like she had those last weeks in hospice. No, this version of her looked healthy, vibrant. She laughed at something and flipped her hair behind her ear the way she used to when she was teasing me. She walked around the front of the truck. Then a man stepped out of the passenger side. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black ball cap and sunglasses. Kept his face turned just enough that the camera never got a full **T. But the way she reached for him, hand resting on his chest, his hand brushing the small of her back, it was **mate. Familiar. They walked into room 14 together like it was nothing. Like she hadn't just died. Like none of this had happened. I paused the footage. My mind was spinning. She was gone. I signed the papers. I watched the cremation. I held the goddamn urn. But there she was. Alive. With some man. Felt like my chest collapsed. My hands went numb. I could barely keep my grip on the dash. The truck was silent except for the low hum of the engine. Then my phone buzzed on the console. A notification. An email from Mia. Dated 11 days ago, scheduled. Subject: Trust the plan. I opened it with shaking hands. Ben, if you're reading this, it means everything went as planned. I know what you're feeling right now. Betrayal. Confusion. Maybe rage. But I need you to listen to me. Really listen. What you saw was never about infidelity. It was part of a recovery protocol. Something bigger than both of us. Think of it as a healing intervention. You always said you couldn't heal without understanding the pain. This was my way of giving you that understanding. Please don't be afraid. You're not losing your mind. You're getting it back. The romance package was symbolic. The man you saw is part of the plan. I needed you to believe it. I needed you to feel it. But it's not what you think. It's never been what you think. My eyes stung. I didn't even realize I was crying until I blinked and the tears smeared across the screen. What the hell did that even mean? Part of the plan? A symbolic romance package? Who says that? And then that last line. It's never been what you think. I didn't know whether to scream or laugh. I just sat there, feeling like the floor had dropped out beneath me and kept falling. It worked. I'll admit that. It scrambled me. I didn't know what to feel. Was it grief? Anger? Hope? I felt like I was holding 100 broken pieces and none of them made a full picture anymore. I played the dashcam clip again, looking for any clue I might have missed. Her body language. His walk. Was he a lover? A handler? A ghost? Then I remembered the envelope. The one marked confess. I hadn't opened it. Hands still shaking, I tore it open. Inside was a note, handwritten on hotel stationery. Her handwriting again. Ben, if you're reading this, it means you found the footage and the email. That's good. That means you're still curious. Still alive in there somewhere. I'm sorry I had to do it this way. You were starting to fade, your memory, your light. They were getting close. Too close. This was the only way. Don't trust everything you remember. You gave some of it away. On purpose. For me. Keep looking. I left the next piece where the tires meet the creek. I read it 3 times, then again. Where the tires meet the creek. What the hell did that mean? The only place I could think of was the tire shop her cousin used to run, Lark Creek Tires. But that was miles from here. I hadn't been there in years. And why would she leave something for me there? More importantly, why did it sound like she expected me to go looking? I sat back in the truck, staring out the windshield, the sun dipping low behind the trees. The world outside looked normal, peaceful, the kind of day where nothing should feel like a conspiracy. But inside that cab, everything I thought I knew was cracking apart. Mia was dead. Except maybe she wasn't. I buried her. Except maybe I didn't. She left me grieving. Except maybe she knew I'd go digging. And maybe she wanted me to. And that's the moment it hit me. This wasn't closure. This was just the first move. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan, watching it spin in slow, stuttering circles. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, the version from the dash cam, not the one from the hospice bed. The one who was alive and moving and smiling like none of this had touched her. Like she was free. I kept thinking, what if she wasn't lying? What if the whole thing, funeral, ashes, grief, had been some kind of setup? But then, I'd spiral the other way. No, she lied. She died. You grieved her. You watched the machines shut off. Except now, I couldn't trust any of it. When I woke up, I went to the garage and stared at the truck again like it might blink or cough up more clues. Instead, all it gave me was that same faint perfume in the cab. That citrusy vanilla scent she wore when she was trying to be subtle. I'd never found the bottle in the house, though I searched. Not once. It always clung to her, but I never saw her spray it. The thing is, the more I thought about it, the more I realized. The signs were always there. I just hadn't wanted to see them. Like those yoga classes she suddenly started going to last year. Every Tuesday and Thursday. Except she never took her mat. Never mentioned the instructor's name. And I remember, I remember, watching her walk out one morning wearing stilettos under her yoga pants. I made some joke about downward dog turning into dinner and drinks. She just laughed it off. But I should have asked more questions. Then there were the passwords. New ones on every device. Every phone, laptop, tablet. I wasn't the type to snoop, but even I started noticing that she'd keep everything angled away from me. She said she was managing a client's sensitive info, some legal startup thing. NDA life, she joked. I didn't laugh. Her late-night trips to the ATM. Hundreds in cash. Not just once, routine. I found the receipts once in the laundry and asked about them. She got defensive fast. Said she was pulling cash for her mom who didn't trust banks. But her mom's accounts were all digital. She was the one who got me into online banking. Then there was this business card I found in her coat pocket. Black, matte finish. Classy. Clean. No logo. Just a name. Clara Hill, and a phone number. I asked who that was. She blinked, then said, "Oh, just a real estate connection. In case we move." We weren't moving. We just renovated the kitchen. When I called the number weeks later, it rang 3 times, then went dead. I tried again, disconnected. Clara Hill. Was that her alias? I'm not proud of this next part, but it's true. One time I followed her. She said she had a girls' night, hot yoga, then dinner. Said not to wait up. I waited 15 minutes, then got in my car and trailed behind hers. Lights off, 2 cars back. She didn't go to yoga. She didn't go to dinner. She parked near the Lakeside District, changed her jacket in the car, then walked into a boutique hotel. The kind with low lighting and jazz in the lobby. I waited an hour in the lot. She never came out. I told myself maybe it was a private spa. Or a pop-up gallery. I told myself anything that would make it okay. But deep down, even back then, I knew. And the most bitter memory of all? My birthday. The year before we got married. My friends threw me a party at Breckenridge's, the pub with the deck overlooking the river. Everyone was there, her family, mine, co-workers, friends from college. I'd just gotten promoted. Everyone toasted. And Mia? She stood up, glass raised, and said something like, "Let's all take a moment to recognize Ben's incredible job of telling people he works in logistics. Because really, he just organizes boxes and yells at interns." Laughter. Nervous. Scattered. I laughed too. First. But the way she looked at me, half smiling, half something else, made the whole room feel tight. I broke the engagement that night, walked outside into the rain, took the ring out of my pocket, and handed it to her on the sidewalk. She cried, swore it was a joke, said she didn't mean it, that she was nervous trying to be funny, and I caved. We got back together 3 weeks later. We got married 3 months after that, and things were better for a while. At least I convinced myself they were. But after the honeymoon, she started taking business trips. Same startup, same vague NDA excuses, but her receipts never matched the dates. I checked the hotel confirmations once, just to verify. Some of them didn't exist, or they were booked under names that weren't hers. She kept redirecting every conversation. If I asked questions, she made it about me. Why don't you trust me? Why do you always assume the worst? Is this your anxiety again? Do we need to up your dose? And somehow I was the one apologizing. For being too suspicious. For not healing fast enough. For being closed off. Her phone was always face down. Always silent. I remember one night waking up to whispers. I thought she was on the phone. I came downstairs and found her on the patio, barefoot, sitting cross-legged with her laptop open, typing fast. She didn't hear me until I coughed. She snapped the screen shut like a guillotine and said she was journaling. I asked if I could read it sometime. She said it was encrypted. I didn't ask why a journal needed encryption. All of it, it makes sense now. Not clean sense. Not comfortable sense. But sense. And yet, I kept circling back to that damn video. She was alive. She looked right into the camera lens, well, not directly, but near enough. Like she knew I'd see it. Like it was staged, designed, scripted even. And that email, framed to sound like a therapy exercise, a help plan, a tool for grief recovery. That was the phrase. Who uses phrases like that? Then I remembered something else. 2 days before the funeral, I found her in the garage with the truck doors open, engine running, radio on. She said she was looking for a missing key. I didn't think much of it. I should have. She was probably installing the footage, or planting the receipt, or scheduling the email, because it all felt too neat, too purposeful. And then, just when I thought I couldn't feel more twisted up, something else came back to me. One night, a couple months before she died, I woke up to find her watching me, just standing at the foot of the bed, not moving, just staring. She didn't look startled when I noticed, just smiled, said, "You always looked most peaceful when you forget who you are." Then she crawled back into bed and fell asleep like nothing happened. At the time, I chalked it up to grief or meds. But now that line stuck in my brain like a shard. When you forget who you are. What had I forgotten? I went to my files that morning, my old laptop, scanned through emails, messages, calendars. Whole weeks were blank, like I'd been somewhere else, somewhere I didn't log. Mia always said I had a terrible memory. Maybe she was right. Or maybe I didn't lose my memory. Maybe I gave it away. I drove to the Blue Heron 3 days later. I told myself it was for closure, not obsession. But even as I packed the truck with a thermos of coffee and a flashlight, I knew I was lying. I wasn't chasing closure. I was chasing her ghost, and maybe the truth she didn't think I'd survive finding. The inn sat just outside town, along the edge of Lake Hollis. The kind of place that sells serenity on brochures, white shutters, pale blue siding, bird-shaped weather vanes. The sign out front read "Welcome to Blue Heron Inn, where the water remembers you." That line didn't sit right. Remembers you, like the place kept a ledger of its visitors' sins. The woman at the front desk was maybe in her 50s. Her name tag read June in bold silver letters. She had that calm, practiced smile that innkeepers use on people they don't want to spook. "Checking in?" she asked. "Not exactly," I said. "I'm trying to confirm a stay that might have happened here last year. Room 14. Her smile faltered just slightly. "Last year's records are archived, sir. May I ask why?" I slid the receipt across the counter. "Because my wife's name is on it." June adjusted her glasses and leaned in. Her eyes darted across the paper, then up to me. "Mia Cole," she murmured. "Yes, I remember her." That stopped me cold. "You do." She nodded slowly. "Pretty woman. Dark hair, soft voice. Stayed one night in room 14. Paid in cash." My throat tightened. Was she alone? June hesitated. Then, almost reluctantly, said, "No." The note said 2 guests. The room felt suddenly smaller. I asked if she remembered the man, but she shook her head. "He signed as Cal something. That's all I recall. Tall. Wore a cap." She paused. "They didn't stay long. Came late, left before dawn." I felt dizzy. "Is there any security footage? Cameras?" June frowned but nodded toward a small monitor behind her. "We keep recordings for safety, mostly hallways and exits. You understand." "I'll pay for a look," I said. She studied me for a moment, then sighed. "You look like someone who's owed an answer, Mr. Cole." A few minutes later, she led me behind the desk to a back office lined with filing cabinets and old monitors stacked like bricks. She inserted a thumb drive, clicked through files, and brought up a grainy feed labeled hallway_14A. She scrubbed forward, eyes narrowing. "There," she said. The footage played. Mia wearing that same cream-colored coat I'd bought her for Christmas. Her hair tied back, laughing softly as she unlocked the door to room 14. The man followed behind, tall, jeans, dark hoodie. He reached for her waist. She turned, kissed him full on the mouth. My knees went weak. It wasn't a glitch. It wasn't metaphor. It wasn't symbolic therapy. It was her kissing another man. And she looked happy. June must have seen my expression because she reached for my arm like she'd done this before. Comforted strangers who came looking for ghosts and found evidence instead. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. If it's any consolation, she seemed kind. Gentle. Not the running type. I swallowed hard. Was the room cleaned after? Of course. Standard procedure. I need to see it, I said. She looked uneasy. That room's occupied now. Then give me 5 minutes when it's not. Something in my tone must have convinced her because an hour later, after a polite couple in hiking gear checked out, June handed me a spare key and said, 5 minutes. Don't make me regret this. The door creaked open to the smell of lavender cleaner and lake air. The room was small but cozy. 2 glasses on the nightstand, a king bed, an in-room tablet glowing on the desk. Everything staged to look untouched, but I could feel her in there. The ghost of her perfume lingered in the air like a dare. I checked the bathroom first. Nothing. Then the trash bin under the sink. Empty except for a crumpled receipt. Dated the same night. Same name, Mia Cole. On the counter sat 2 water glasses. I lifted them carefully. Smudged fingerprints. 2 sets. One small, one broad. And near the edge of the bed, half hidden under the leg of the nightstand, was a torn piece of foil, a condom wrapper. That's when I had to sit down. It wasn't grief. Not even anger. It was something emptier. A kind of hollow realization that the person I'd built my life around had been living someone else's story entirely. But that wasn't the worst part. The tablet on the desk blinked to life when I touched it. The screen showed a messenger app already logged in. The last chat open. User Clara Hill. The same alias I'd seen on that business card. The thread scrolled back weeks, months maybe, filled with coded language that still managed to sound in asterisk mate. Phrases like encore next weekend and same place, same playlist. There were timestamps, file transfers, even a discussion of what they called the window, some kind of operation schedule. And between the flirtation, one line stopped me cold. Cal, you sure he won't remember? Clara Hill, he signed for it himself. That's the point. The hair on my arms stood up. What had I signed? I backed out of the messages, checked the Wi-Fi history. 2 devices had connected that night, Mere iPhone and CalPixel. It felt like standing inside a riddle written by someone who knew exactly where I'd break first. I heard footsteps in the hall and nearly jumped. June's voice called softly, Mr. Cole, time's up. I pocketed the crumpled receipt and the torn foil, then stepped out, locking the door behind me. June waited by the counter, expression cautious. Did you find what you were looking for? Something like that, I said. She hesitated. You should know, Mr. Cole. After they left that night, I found something strange. The cleaning lady said the mirrors were all wiped clean, like they didn't want to leave fingerprints. We thought maybe they were actors, shooting something discreet. Happens sometimes. Actors. Yeah. Maybe that was what this was. A show I didn't know I'd been cast in. I thanked her, left the inn, and sat in the truck for a long time with the engine off, the lake rippling like glass in the distance. She'd been there. She'd been alive. She'd lied. But what gnawed at me even harder was that single message. He signed for it himself. Had I agreed to something? Something that made this possible? When I got home, I spread everything on the kitchen table, the printed receipt, the note, the email, screensh *TS from the dash cam. It looked like evidence from a case that didn't exist. Then I saw something new. On the bottom of the Blue Heron receipt, written faintly in pen, was a short line. Window 7 to 9 p.m. Confirm with LCT. LCT. Lark Creek Tires. The place from her note. Where the tires meet the creek. I felt my pulse quicken. I thought it was just a memory clue, some metaphor, but now it was literal. She'd been leaving a trail. It wasn't just infidelity. It was a map. And if that was true, then the next step, the one she wanted me to take, wasn't about forgiveness or answers. It was about following her. I should have turned back. After everything I'd seen, Mia alive, her kissing someone else, that message about me signing for it myself. Any sane person would have slammed the brakes and driven the other way. But I wasn't chasing sanity. I was chasing whatever version of the truth hadn't yet broken me. So I went to Lark Creek Tires. It was an old auto shop wedged between a shuttered bait store and a drainage ditch that used to be a stream. Rusted signage. an old Goodyear blimp sticker peeling off the glass door. From the outside, it looked abandoned. One bay door stood half open, revealing a single pickup parked inside. Not just a pickup. My pickup. Same year. Same model. Same trim. Same dent on the back bumper right corner. A detail only I'd notice because I had put it there 6 years ago, backing into a concrete post. I walked toward it in a daze. The license plate was different. Cloned, I realized, but everything else was identical. Same worn floor mats. Same crack in the dash. Same burn mark on the seat from when I dropped a joint and tried to pretend I didn't. Only this one was clean. Too clean. No clutter. No fast food wrappers. No dog hair. Just a perfect, sterile version of my life. Preserved. The driver's door was unlocked. I opened it slowly, half expecting an alarm, but the only sound was the creak of the hinges. A faint citrus vanilla scent lingered, Mia's perfume. Again. But this time it didn't smell like memory. It smelled fresh. I looked around. No one. The garage was dark except for slats of light cutting through the boarded windows. Then I saw it. A stairwell in the back. Narrow. Old wood. No railing. It led to a door marked with nothing but peeling white paint. I climbed slowly, heart pounding. When I knocked, the door wasn't locked. It drifted open with the gentlest push. Inside was a loft apartment, small, quiet, unsettling in its precision. One table. One couch. One shelf with books I recognized, her books. Same dog-eared copies of the titles Mia would reread when she was anxious. Same torn spine on the poetry collection she used to keep by the bed. There were pictures, too. Framed photos of us. But not ones I remembered taking. They looked curated. Smiling in front of a lighthouse we never visited. Standing on a hiking trail I don't recall walking. Her in a white sundress on a porch I'd never seen. It was like someone had rebuilt our life from memory and missed half the details. "Don't touch anything," a voice said behind me. I turned sharply. A man stood near the doorway, tall, same build as the one in the motel footage. He wasn't wearing the cap now. Short-cropped hair, dark shirt. He had a calmness that made my skin crawl. "You're Cal," I said, though it came out more as a question. He nodded. "You made it farther than we expected." "We?" "She didn't think you'd remember. Not this soon." "I don't remember," I said. "Not fully. But enough to know this." I gestured at the room. The fake truck downstairs. "Isn't normal." He studied me, then walked over to a cabinet and pulled out a voice recorder. Set it on the table. Pressed play. Static. Then, "If they catch wind, we don't get a second sh*T. After the cremation, I disappear. You wait 10 days, follow the list. Don't deviate." My voice. Then hers. "Ben, are you sure? Once you sign, there's no takebacks. Not from them. Not from yourself. This is the only way." I staggered back. "What is this?" "You authorized it," Kel said. "A memory wipe. Not full. Just surgical. Just enough to make you forget the names, the drop points, the plan." "No," I said. "That's impossible. I'd remember." He raised an eyebrow. "Do you?" I didn't answer. "Your wife was being hunted," he went on. "Not by the government, not by some movie-level shadow agency. Something simpler. More insidious. A group she used to work with. You helped her disappear." I was shaking. "You're saying I agreed to forget? And she agreed to fake her own death?" He nodded once. I walked to the nearest window and stared out over the parking lot. Same layout as I remembered from when I'd bring the truck in for oil changes. Except now it felt foreign. Like I was standing inside someone else's life. "She told me I'd get jealous," I muttered. "Said the motel footage was part of some healing plan." "It was half true," Kel said. "The footage was staged. We needed it to be traceable in case you went looking. And it needed to trigger the confusion. That's what made the memory block crack." "So the affair," I stopped. "That wasn't real?" He looked down. That pause told me everything. "It wasn't supposed to be," he said finally. "But things slipped. The window got delayed. We went dark too long. People get close under pressure." You slept with my wife, I said flatly. He didn't deny it. Was that part of the plan too? No, he said. That was insurance. Her word. I clenched my fists. She cheated on me during our disappearance plan? She thought you were gone, fully wiped, that the reset wouldn't take. She panicked. You both did. I sat down on the couch. My knees wouldn't hold me anymore. Cal opened a drawer and pulled out a thick manila envelope. Inside, a printed photo of me and Mia at a diner. Same clothes as a picture on the wall, but now in context, time-stamped from 8 months ago. He slid the next item across the table. A prepayment invoice from a memory clinic. My signature at the bottom. And finally, a flash drive, labeled MIA Final. There's a message on here, he said. She wanted you to hear it if you made it this far. If your memory's back. It's not, I said quietly. Not completely. He nodded. Then it'll help. I stared at the items on the table, each one a nail in the coffin of the life I thought I understood. Why the second truck? I asked. Diversion, he said. In case they traced the plates. Or in case you stumbled on something too early. You were supposed to meet us here 6 months ago. But something delayed the protocol. Something, I repeated. Like a faulty memory wipe? Or maybe, Cal said, you just weren't ready. I didn't respond. There was a clock ticking somewhere. Loud now. Every second hammering into my ribs. She's alive. I asked softer now. She was, he said. The last I saw her. But if you don't recover fully, if the memory doesn't stabilize, she's instructed us to cut contact. Permanently. That word again. Permanent. Like she was a fugitive in her own life. Like I was just a passenger in my own body. I looked at Cal. Where is she now? He slid a piece of paper toward me. Blank. But when I tilted it toward the light, I saw it. Coyote Ridge. The overlook. The place we carved our initials into a pine tree 10 years ago. Where we got engaged. He stood. That's your last breadcrumb, Ben. After that, there's no trail. Why? I asked. Why hide this? Why erase all of it? He paused at the door. Because some people don't want to be found, he said. And others don't want to remember what they did. Then he left me there, sitting in a loft built from pieces of a life I no longer recognized, clutching a flash drive that might explain everything, or finish the job and wipe the rest of me clean. I stayed in the loft for what felt like hours after Cal left. Didn't move. Didn't breathe right. The flash drive sat on the table like it was radioactive. I didn't plug it in. Not yet. I needed time to let my hands stop shaking. Instead, I paced. The bookshelf, the fake wedding photo, the spotless copy of my truck below. Every inch of this place felt like a skin I'd shed and someone else had stitched together. Like I'd built a museum to my own life and then forgot I was the one who paid for the exhibit. Eventually, I noticed another envelope on the kitchenette counter. It hadn't been there before. I swear it hadn't. My name was on it. My own handwriting. Sharp, slanted, slightly chaotic. How I write when I'm panicked or trying to be calm and failing at both. Inside were 3 things. The first was a photo printed on cheap paper. Me and Mia sitting in a diner booth. Same one from Cal's stack, but this one zoomed out. In the background was a wall clock showing the time. 3:27 a.m. The table had 3 mugs, 2 water glasses, 1 plate of untouched food. Across from us, barely visible in the corner, was Cal. He was there that night, with us, like he belonged. And I was smiling, laughing, like I wasn't afraid, like I knew. The second item was a payment confirmation from a private neurological clinic in Washington. Same place that had appeared on the prepayment invoice. The form was filled out in my name. But what made my stomach turn wasn't the signature. It was the date. Exactly 1 week before Mia's death. It wasn't an impulsive decision. I'd made appointments, sent follow-ups, transferred funds. There were even notes in the margins. My handwriting again. Clean break. No danger to her. Memories okay to keep. Wedding, parents, dog. Purge. Operation. Cal. Duplicate. monitoring team. Like I'd curated which parts of myself to delete. Like I'd agreed to lobotomize the truth just to keep her safe. The third item was the most damning. A small USB stick labeled, consent, B, Col/Echo Protocol V. Final. I had no laptop, but Cal's had been left open on the table. Maybe on purpose. I hesitated for a second, paranoid about triggering some irreversible chain reaction, but plugged it in anyway. There it was. A signed document with legal formatting. Pages of authorization clauses and neurological release jargon. Most of it blurred past me until I hit the line where I had typed. I, Benjamin Cole, authorize the extraction and suppression of specific episodic memory clusters related to Operation Echo. I understand that this procedure is irreversible, and any future recovery will depend on psychological readiness and environmental triggers. I acknowledge that this choice is voluntary, strategic, and that my consent is being given in order to protect the life of Mia Cole. My signature at the bottom. Digital. Time-stamped. Not forged. There was a section below I must have written by hand and scanned in. If you're reading this now, Ben, it means it worked. You don't remember why, but you trusted your reasons. You trusted her. I know you're confused. You're angry. Maybe you even hate her right now. But understand, she didn't break the plan. You did. You delayed the wipe. You said you needed more time. She waited. You both took risks. Her affair? That didn't start until you went dark. When you ghosted even the backups. She didn't know if you were alive, dead, or worse. She was trying to buy us time. She didn't betray you. She ensured you. You were the one who asked her to disappear. I sat there stunned. The screen burned into my eyes. My throat felt dry like I'd swallowed glass. Because now I wasn't the betrayed. I wasn't the victim. I was the architect. And it explained everything. The motel. The password devices. The stiletto yoga trips. The cash withdrawals. The alternate identity. Clara Hill wasn't just some alias she used behind my back. It was her cover, the one I had helped her build. She hadn't mocked me at my birthday to embarrass me. She'd done it to distance me. Because that was part of the staging. To create friction. Make the separation more believable. We'd fought so that people would stop asking questions when she vanished. And I'd played along. I ended the engagement publicly. We reconciled. Then we married. But maybe that was all part of the operation, too. And the worst part? I found a draft of an email in the folder. Unsent. Dated 4 days before her funeral. It was a divorce petition. I opened it. There it was, my name as the sender, hers as the recipient. A full explanation of our irreconcilable differences. A timeline for separation, and a note. This isn't about love. I never stopped loving you. But they're watching now. If I don't file this, they'll know. This gives you deniability. This gives you distance. Suddenly everything she'd done. The way she kept her phone face down, the coldness after the wedding, the fake trips. All of it snapped into place. She was protecting the illusion, not breaking our vows. But that raised another, sharper question. Why would I wipe all this and then forget I wiped it? I searched the laptop. One more folder. Titled, for reassembly. Inside, audio clips. Notes. Her voice, mostly. Coaching me. Ben, if you're listening to this, it means your memory came back early or crooked. That's okay. The flash drive you found, play it somewhere quiet. Somewhere you remember without fear. If your mind doesn't anchor, it'll fray again. And this time, I won't be able to reach you. There were GPS coordinates. Coyote Ridge, our old spot, where we'd carved our initials into that matchstick pine that got struck by lightning our first summer together. Where we always joked the wind never shut up. At the bottom of the folder was a video thumbnail. No label, just her face, staring back at me, waiting. I didn't open it yet. I backed away from the desk, took a deep breath, and grabbed the keys from the hook by the door. The clone truck still sat below. I slid behind the wheel. The seat was adjusted perfectly to my height. When I turned the ignition, a small screen lit up on the dash. A welcome message. Final window active. Proceed to overlook. No GPS. No map. But I didn't need one. My hands knew where to go. My body remembered the turns. The way to Coyote Ridge came back like it had never left. Like the path had been etched into my bones long before my brain had tried to forget. At Coyote Ridge, I played the flash drive. Mia appeared, calm and clear-eyed. She said I traded my memories to protect her, that if I remembered this message, she was still waiting. The overlook was our rendezvous. If my memory didn't return in full, she'd vanish for good. As I drove, every turn returned to me, like my body knew the truth before my mind did. At dawn, I found Mia. Her voice, her scent. Everything snapped back. The affair was real, but so was our plan. We had meant to beat something bigger. On the railing, I found a clinic folder stage 2 wipe scheduled for this morning. A trail cam blinked nearby, recording us. Someone else was watching, still tracking us. This wasn't over. Not even close.